there has been talk about a new quarterback and a new head coach in New York for the Giants. Whether you believe it or not, it's getting some national headlines. I don't know if I buy it, and I want to talk about it. I'm Coach Gene Clemons, and I have a giant issue. 3, 2, 1, Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of A Giant Issue. I am Coach Gene Clemons on the New York Giants on SI YouTube channel. Make sure right now, before you do anything else, before you listen, like hit pause, do something. If you don't have to hit pause, just scroll up and hit that little button that says subscribe. We're looking at the analytics. We know you're out there watching, and we know all of you are not subscribed. So go ahead, subscribe. Tell your favorite person that loves the Giants to go ahead and subscribe as well. Make sure that you go to the New York Giants on SI website for any and all of your New York Giants information. Do appreciate it. Got some really good GGUs up there. That's my good, great, and ugly series that I do. Just so y'all know, right? When I do a good, great, or ugly series, it's normally themed. And so the ones that I've been doing this summer have been themed around looking at one game, usually their best game that they had that year, right? And then analyzing the good, the great, and the ugly from that game. I think it's really interesting because I did a good, great, and ugly on Dexter Lawrence, who I have said many times that he is one of the best defensive tackles in the game. I put him right there with Chris Jones from the Kansas City Chiefs. I think Jones probably is a little bit more versatile in where you can put him and he will have success, whereas Lawrence has seen the apex of his success at nose guard. But I think he is every bit the quality of all of the interior defensive linemen that you believe are good, right? But on my good, great, and ugly, I said that the ugly of him is that he will sometimes relax on a play. And I got killed. Oh my gosh, this is him just holding the gap. Then somebody told me, well, this is part of Coach Wink's defense. He's supposed to just stay at the line of scrimmage, and when the guy comes, he's supposed to collect them. Like, listen, man, when players are great, not good, not mediocre, when they are great, you have to hold them to the standard of greatness. You don't hold them to the standard of good. You don't hold them to the standard of mediocre. So do I care that Dexter Lawrence, who I know can burst through a double team, can push a double team into the backfield, do I care that he's holding them at the line of scrimmage? Absolutely not. That's a loss for Dexter Lawrence. That's a win for the offense. If you keep Dexter Lawrence out your backfield, that's a win. If I see a pass rush and I see him not rushing, that's a loss. If I'm coaching him and I see that on film where all he's doing is just controlling the gap and not actually displacing the gap or displacing the line of scrimmage, that's a loss for him, because I judge and rank greatness next to greatness. I don't judge and rank greatness next to meteoric. I mean, next to mediocrity. Is it right? Is it right? Is it fair? Who said anything about life being fair? You think it's fair to the other defensive linemen that Dexter Lawrence can be 330 pounds and still move and be as agile and athletic as he is? No, it's not fair. They didn't all get that. If they did, then Dexter Lawrence wouldn't be making all of this money right now. They'd be treating the defensive tackle position like they treat running backs. But he's really, really good. And so when we critique him, we're going to critique him by the small margins, not by the big ones, right? It doesn't mean I don't think he's great. It doesn't mean I think it's a trait that he does all the time. But and I even quantified it to say, hey, Dexter Lawrence has to play a lot of snaps. And so if he didn't have to play all of these snaps, he would probably be better for it. So he would be better served to just come out the game, give himself a blow, and then get back in there to be able to go full speed all the time. But, that's how fans are. The Giants wrapped up their second day of joint practices with the Detroit Lions. It was there were spirited practices. There were some takeaways from it. And I want to talk about it. There are some things that I like. There's some things that I did not like. There are some things that I keep seeing that I don't really understand, but I have to talk about this. Nick Wright, who is on FS1, I believe his show is First Things First. Nick Wright, who I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is a New York, New Jersey guy, right? He's from the area, or at least he lives in the area. I'm not going to say he's from the area, but he is in the area. He was on the Herd, and he was discussing Dak Prescott and Dak Prescott's looming contract that's coming. And the fact that he doesn't think that the Cowboys want to sign up for Dak Prescott again, because I think what he was getting at is that Dak Prescott comes with a ceiling, or at least a perceived ceiling, right? So he's talking to the Herd, and he's talking about how Dak Prescott is going to end up being a free agent, and that he'll be able to go out into the market, and in the open market, he's going to command something like 60 to 65 million a year, which sounds crazy, but doesn't when you think about the fact that there are quarterbacks out there making $40 million a year who probably shouldn't be making $40 million. I digress, and maybe that's for another day. I won't even get into that today. But I wanted you to hear what he said because I thought it was extremely interesting. And then we'll talk about it. This is, again, Nick Wright on the Herd with Colin Cowherd discussing Dak Prescott and where he may land and who he may land there with.
And I've been saying it, I will keep saying it. I really think Dak Prescott, Bill Belichick, package deal to the New York Giants a year from now is going to happen. And I think Bill gets to end where he started. I think the Giants get to rebrand entirely and steal the Cowboys quarterback. And Dak gets something like 3 years, $200 million guaranteed. And that's where this thing ends up going. I totally agree.
So I just want to touch on each part of this, right? First, I want to start with the particulars. The particulars essentially is Dak Prescott getting $200 million guaranteed. So he said guaranteed. And since quarterbacks don't get fully guaranteed contracts, we'll have to assume that there's more on the contract than just the guaranteed money. But 200 guaranteed for 3 years would average out to somewhere around 60. Well, not somewhere. It's going to average out to $66 million a year. $66 million per. And again, that's not the full contract, because if he's signing for 3 years, 200 guaranteed, the contract is probably something like 3 years, $230 million, right? So if he sees the end of it, if he sees the end of that contract at 230 or 225, he's going to be looking at something like $75 million a year. Cool. I'm not here to argue whether or not you should pay quarterbacks. Anybody knows how I feel about paying quarterbacks. They know that I feel you only pay generational level quarterbacks. Quarterbacks who can get you a win all by themselves. They can will you to a win. Not managers, not guys who are just really good, not guys who just fill up the stat sheet. It's not about that. It's about, can this guy, when all things fail, when things break down in the critical moments, can they get you to a dub all by themselves. And as we know, all by themselves doesn't really mean all by themselves, right? So that's the first thing. $66 to $76 million for a quarterback sounds crazy. And here's why it sounds crazy, ladies and gentlemen. Look around the NFL. What team has won a Super Bowl after paying a quarterback an exorbitant amount of money? Remember, when Tom Brady went to Tampa, it was not for an exorbitant amount of money, right? It wasn't like Tom Brady said, okay, well, I haven't made any money, or I haven't made a lot of money in the NFL. Let me go to Tampa and break the bank, right? That's not what he did. And in fact, if you look at the contract for Tom Brady and the way, or the money that he took and the way he took the money, it was done in a manner that allowed the team to be able to continue to build around him, right? His 2021 contract was for 25. I'm sorry. Let me rewind. His 2020 contract was 2 years, $50 million. This isn't like 12 years ago. Tom Brady took $50 million over 2 years to sign with the Bucs because the Bucs total team gave him the best opportunity to get back to a Super Bowl. That's how it's done. Right? 2021, 2022. 2022, he signs the extension that gave him $15 more on top of it, right? So all in all, he made $65 million over 2 years from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That is $32.5 million a year. Need I remind you all that Daniel Jones makes over $40 million APR? And I know, shout out to Patricia Traynor, it's not really that because of how but it's that. Like, we keep it simple. When I watched Hard Knocks, I saw Joe Shane talking. Guess what he kept saying? He kept saying APR. He kept saying $40 million. So if he's saying it, if that's the narrative that he's pushing, then I'm going to push the same narrative. And because he makes that, right, because that's what he makes, there's only so much you can do. Now, here's the problem with not paying Dak Prescott, but paying any free agent quarterback $60 million. The advantage that you have with a rookie quarterback is the 4 years that you get, actually with any rookie, it's the 4 years that you get before they hit your pocket. It was the stupidest move that the NFL Players Association, who's the weakest players association I've ever seen in my life, is the move that they made, that I keep going, oh, y'all don't think like billionaires think. Y'all think like people who are still poor, right? Because what they did was they took away the big money for the rookies, which meant they would have to get even bigger money in their second contract because they wanted to save the veterans. But it didn't save the veterans. All it did was give the NFL owners and the front office people the opportunity to shift the money around and make it look as if people were getting more money on the back end, but they really weren't. The average career is still short. They're still devaluing players. The rookie wage scale should say that running backs and safeties should be paid at a premium. But since the rookie wage scale went into place, running backs have gotten less and less money. So now when you take a running back in the first round, they don't even hurt your pockets like they used to hurt your pockets back when rookies were getting $70 million contracts. So as a result of a salary cap that was put in place to make sure that the owners didn't have to spend as much money on players, right? Because the salary cap doesn't actually need to exist. It exists only because the owners want it to exist and because the players agreed to it, right? So because that exists, when you get a guy on a rookie deal, that rookie deal allows the team to take that money that they would have spent. For instance, if I had to pay, if I remember correctly, Matthew Stafford, not Matt Stafford, Sam Bradford got $70 million as a rookie. It was the last year of before the rookie wage scale came in, and the next year, Cam Newton, who's infinitely better than that dude was, got $30 million. It cost him $45 million because he came out a year after they did that deal. Sam Bradford got $70 million, right? Because Sam Bradford got $70 million, the Vikings couldn't do very much around him. You can't put the stuff in place in order to be successful. Juxtapose that with Cam Newton, who got 20-something million dollars, $30 million, I think, something along those lines. They saved $45 million. What did they do? They went out and put the best defense they could possibly put in over there. They didn't really give him no offensive weapons. They didn't give him a whole lot to work with offensively. I think he got the tail end of Steve Smith, right? He got the tail end of Steve Smith. They brought in Greg Olsen. They drafted Benjamin, but where were the other weapons at? They like the elite level weapons. But they had money and they spent it on the defense, and because of that, a great defense and a Cam Newton that you are riding like a dog all the way to the Super Bowl. They didn't win it, but they got there. How did they get there? Because of the monies, right? Then Cam got a contract extension, and all of a sudden, things started deteriorating. Couldn't continue to pay defensive players that they were paying before. They started letting guys go. They started trading guys away. That's what happens when the contract gets put in place. Unless you're able to find the sweet spot, right? Unless you're able to find the sweet spot that allows the contract to kick in, you survive while the big money hits, right? While the big money hits, you survive. And then you're able to go back to the rinse, wash, repeat because the back end or that middle part of the quarterback deal that you signed isn't really worth that much money, right? Because they got a bunch on the signing bonus, or you got it backloaded in the last year of the contract, whatever it might be. But you can maneuver it around so that you can still play ball. So if you're a team like the Giants and you're putting pieces in place, why would you go out and sign a $66 to $76 million quarterback when you're still trying to figure out if you have the offensive line to go forward, if you have a tight end that is really like legitimate, if you have a defensive backfield that's going to be able to hold up and get you to that promised land. If you're still trying to figure out if the guy next to your middle linebacker is the guy that can really wreck shop for you. If you're still trying to figure out these other things, you can't just put $66 to $76 million on a quarterback. That doesn't work. It's never worked. It doesn't really work when they start paying the quarterback after the rookie deal. The only reason they're having success in Kansas City is because the quarterback allows them to get by with having receivers that are not elite level receivers, because even the tight end is old. Travis Kelce, is he still elite level Travis Kelce? Or is he just really good Travis Kelce? I mean, he's a Hall of Famer, no doubt. Arguably the best, maybe not even arguably, the best receiving tight end of all time now, right? But because you have Patrick Mahomes that you're giving that money to, a generational quarterback who can win a game on his own, you can be strategic about where you spend your money on offense. And how much money do they have wrapped up in wide receivers on offense? The answer, none. We'll go out and we'll get these second and third and fourth round and fifth round picks that are fast. We'll go and find the guy that another team didn't want to pay, and they're going to take money. They're going to take less money to come play over here because they get to play with that alien. And that's how we changed the math, because we had to pay him a gross national profit of a small country, because that's how good he is. The problem is now every quarterback is getting that money. Every quarterback is, right? Now, in Miami, they just paid their quarterback. Do they have everything in place to win a championship? Because they just paid the quarterback and they just gave the wide receiver an extension. That was after paying the other wide receiver. Do they have what they need to win a championship? They better hope so. Ain't no more money. You can't go and put together an elite level defense. You got to win with offense, because that's where you spent the money at. Over there in LA, you think they're going to win? They just spent all that money on that dude. That dude's already hurt. They had to trade away assets at wide receivers. Who are they throwing the ball to? Do they think he's good enough to be Patrick Mahomes? He had elite level receiver play over there. He had elite level receiving running back play over there. Does he have that now? Right? The Baltimore Ravens, they paid their guy, but look at the way they're set up. Are they paying big money to receivers outside? Are they paying big money to offensive weapons? No. They buy Odell because we can't afford to keep paying you. We'll bring in a rookie. It wasn't that Odell's not good, and that's why Baltimore got rid of him. They know that dude at quarterback's been getting it done without elite level receivers. And when we gave him a seemingly elite level rookie receiver, he balled out, won another MVP. He did it without him, and they did it with him. So we're going to add value pieces on offense, pieces that other teams deem that they're not at their prime anymore, i.e. a Derrick Henry, right? They're going to sign here for less than they would other places because they want to play with that alien, and we keep it moving. But if you look around with these quarterbacks that are making all of that money, sorry, that's not going to happen. So why would the Giants sign up for that? Instead, why would they not play out the existing contract that's of the quarterback that is there, that understands their offense, and draft somebody to come in so that they could take advantage of those rookie years, and really stack their offense and really stack their defense. So by the time it's time to pay the quarterback, everybody else is under contract. And the big part of their money is already gone, which is in the signing bonus that first year, right? So those first year totals really matter. But after that, the deal becomes a lot more friendly and it becomes restructurable. So now they can pay the quarterback that they took with the draft pick. But now they've kicked the can down, and we're talking about 2029 before they have to pay a quarterback. Right? 2029 before they have to pick up the option for the 5th year, which is when you're actually really paying the quarterback. But you're still not paying that quarterback the elite level money. That's the play. Why would they sign up for Bill Belichick to come in here and have everything be the Belichick way, right? Because it ain't the Patriots way, it's the Belichick way. When everything that happened in New England was a product of catching lightning in a bottle. Go and look at the drafts as Bill Belichick since Bill Belichick has been the coach, and tell me how many times they absolutely hit on a first-round draft pick. They caught lightning in a bottle. They got lucky with Brady. And then, because Brady was on the most friendly rookie contract of all time, being that he was a 7th-round pick, they were able to put together one of the fiercest defenses known to man. That is how he was able to establish the culture that way. You can't establish the culture that way when you bring in a $70 million quarterback, because everybody expects you to win a championship right now. Signing a $70 million contract for a quarterback means we are winning a championship right now. The Bills should be in championship winning right now mode. The Baltimore Ravens should be in championship right now mode. The Cleveland Browns, championship right now mode. The Cincinnati Bengals, championship right now mode. We know that the Kansas City Chiefs are, right? The Packers, you paid Jordan Love, guess what you should no longer be in? Rebuilding mode. You should be in championship right now mode. Down in Miami, championship right now mode. Clearly with the Jets, championship right now. Out there in LA, championship right now. Both places. And if they give Brock Purdy that contract in San Francisco, then there are no more excuses for them. You think Bill Belichick at 185 years old is trying to sign up for that? You think Bill Belichick at 197 years old with a 27-year-old girlfriend is out here trying to sign up for that level of pressure in New York City? Come on, ladies and gentlemen. These type of takes from Nick Wright, who I actually think is a good dude, right? A good dude, a smart dude, right? A good dude, a smart dude. It's simply said just to get people talking about nonsense, right? You can't believe everything you hear. One year, Brian Daboll is coach of the year. The next year, half his team gets hurt. Primarily, most of the dudes on offense. And then in year 3, he's one of the worst coaches in the NFL? Come on, man. You don't go from coach of the year to one of the worst coaches in the NFL because your team got hurt. That reminds me of the year where Raheem Morris almost took the Bucs to the playoffs. He finished second in the coach of the year votes that year. Then the next year they regressed because the team was still trying to get their money back under control, right? Because they had invested in stuff and they were paying 2 coaches at the same time. They didn't sign any free agency. They didn't fire Raheem Morris, right? They hire another quarterback and spend all the money in the world that they wanted. It took Raheem Morris until this year to be a head coach again. I'm sorry, but Brian Daboll's not one of the worst coaches in the NFL. Right? He's not one of the worst coaches in the NFL. And not for nothing, he's not making these personnel decisions. So if these personnel decisions don't work out, is it really on him? Now, what I tell you will be on him is if this defensive coordinator position don't work out. Because if that doesn't work out, that was the guy that he wanted. We heard it on Hard Knocks. But even if they got rid of Brian Dable, why would you want to sign up for the circus that would be Bill Belichick? Ladies and gentlemen, that just does not seem like something that Mara is willing to hitch his wagon to. I don't care what the history with Bill Belichick is in New York. That's all the time I have for today, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure that you go to the New York Giants on SI webpage for any and all New York Giants information. We're getting dangerously close. We're one day away. We're one day away from seeing the New York Giants lace it up and play another team. We're going to talk about it tomorrow, so make sure that you tune back in tomorrow. Until then, I'm Coach Gene Clemons, and I have a giant issue.